Good morning, everyone. Come on in and take your seats. Happy to see you all this morning at Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Mary Marie Shelton. I am not able to hear myself. Are you hearing me in the room? You can't hear me. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Make sure it's turned on in the back. That's okay. It was working before. Hello, 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 hello. It was working before. Hello, hello, young lovers, wherever you are. Can you hear me? Am I being heard? Hello, 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 hello. Hi, Steve. Good morning. Well, bear with us here for a second. We're just making sure that... Hello. If I get it really close to my mouth, you can hear me, but it isn't really close to my mouth now that it's tight. Hello. Hello. If I hold it next to my face, you can hear me. Is that still working? Not as well. Not as well. Okay. Yeah. It will be peculiar looking, but it will work. Okay, we're going to stick a Band-Aid on this because I don't have my usual tape to keep the microphone close to my mouth. Hi, good morning. Sorry for the drama. It's that kind of morning. It's one of those you don't have control, so relax kind of mornings. You know what it is? So, there we go. I now have a Band-Aid on my face, but at least the microphone is working. Okay, very good. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. I'm Reverend Mary Marie Shelton. I'm the Community Spiritual Leader here at Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. I am happy to welcome you this morning. And I want to, as we get ready to stand and sing, don't do it yet, we have a wonderful, hello. There we go. We have a wonderful guest musician with us this morning, David Roth, whom I've known for decades and absolutely adore. He's back east in his home studio this morning, and he's going to be teaching us the opening song as we're singing it. So I'm going to invite you to stand. Now, I want to remind you and David, because I forgot to tell him this, that midway through this, I'm going to interrupt him while he plays instrumentally behind you and have you guys all say good morning to each other, right? And then we'll come back and finish the song. So if that works, we'll do it. If it doesn't seem to work, we won't. You know, it's that kind of morning. So please stand and let's sing the opening song. So David, take it away. This marvelous musician.
I hope you can hear me. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Excellent.
Yes.
You'll catch on really quickly, okay?
All right.
And for those of you on Zoom or YouTube, sing at the top of your lungs as if the mute button was never anything less than your best friend. Goes like this. I am here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all. I am here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all. That's it. Try it with me. I am here for the greater good of all, greater good of all, the greater good of all. I am here for the greater good of all, greater good of all. Change of pronoun, you. You are here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all. You are here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all. We are here. We are here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all. We are here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all. All right, I'm going to stop singing. Greet one another.
Oh, yes. Go say good morning to one another. I got confused. I forgot all about it. Hello. Good morning, everybody. Say good morning to each other out there in YouTube land as well. Give us a comment. Let us know that you're out there. Let us know where you're watching from this morning. All right, come on back. Come on back. Start coming back to your places. And we're going to pick up where we left off with the song. All right, we're starting with I Am.
All right, we'll come back singing I Am Here. I am here, get ready, and I am here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all. I am here for the greater good of all, the greater good of all, the greater good of all. A little slower. The greater good of all.
Give yourselves a hand. Yay, well done. Well done. And David, thank you for remembering that we were going to say good morning to each other, because I completely forgot that in the delight of learning a song. So, good morning, everybody.
How human of you.
Yes, really. This is the moment to go ahead and silence your cell phones, because we're going to begin to turn within now so that we can center ourselves and open our minds and hearts to everything that comes forward in the music and the message and the sharing with each other this morning. So as we go into the meditation song, our practitioner, Rachel DePaula, is going to come up to pray us in. So here we go.
Does she come in and pray us in before I sing the setup for meditation?
No.
Okay, here goes something. Very repetitive once more, and I'll sing this 2 or 3 times, and then I'll kind of drift off into instrumental and come back with it after the meditation. I will surrender, I will let go, and when I'm ready, I will know. That's it. I will surrender, I will let go, and when I'm ready, I will know. I will surrender, I will let go, and when I'm ready, I will know.
And let us all surrender right now into the knowledge that God is all there is. That Spirit is the presence, the love, the harmony, the goodness that supports, envelops, and surrounds everything, everyone, every planet, every star, every creature on every planet. And that each and every blade of grass and grain of sand and person, flower, tree, are God expressed. All a part of the creative process that is Spirit, continuing to create more of itself by means of its own volition. It is the One. And as one, I know that I and everyone here and all of the loved ones in this community and of the people in this community are Spirit expressed, each perfect as God, each perfect in our journeys where we are right now. And we are called here today by divine appointment, taking home with us a gem of knowledge, something perfect, a nugget that is needed for today, for tomorrow, for our lives. So I bless this community and each and every one here, knowing that we are brought here by love, by compassion, by the momentum of life, just drawing us in, pulling us here every Sunday to every event and activity and relationship that we have developed over the years and that are new. And I'm so grateful for today, for this community, for our musician David, for the return of Reverend Mary from her vacation, and just for being here today. I release this word into the law, knowing it does what it does without question, accepting the imprint of my word upon it, and manifesting it now. And together we say, and so it is.
I will surrender, I will let go. When I'm ready, I will know. I will surrender, I will let go. When I'm ready, I will know. I will surrender, I will let go. And when I'm ready, I will know.
And now we're going to move into the first solo that David has this morning. So please just welcome him once again, David Roth.
Gosh, it's almost like being there with a lower carbon footprint. Did no ever seem like the right response to a question? I have learned that going through that doorway of discomfort by saying yes to something uncomfortable has led to always some point of insight. I'm glad I did that thing I didn't think I would. When I said yes instead of no, it came out pretty good. I'm glad I took that option. I'm glad I didn't run. When I said yes instead of no, I even had some fun. I'm glad I was agreeable instead of shutting down. That would have been my former self who had not been around. I saw what could be possible in filling up my cup. When I said yes instead of no, my world opened up. I'm really glad the word I said was yes. I'm really glad the word I said was yes. Oh, when I think of all the things I might have missed, I'm really glad the word I said was yes. I'm glad you set your sights on me and how you've helped me grow, and all the things you've shared along the way that I did not know. In spite of my resistance and all my stubborn ways, I circumnavigated them, and here we are today. I'm really glad the word I said was yes. I'm really glad the word I said was yes. Oh, when I think of all the things I might have missed, I'm really glad the word I said was yes. The world is filled with naysayers, don't you know? Well, I've become a yay-sayer, so here we go. I'm glad I did that thing I didn't think I would. When I said yes instead of no, it came out really good. I'm glad I took that option. I'm glad I didn't hide. When I said yes instead of no, oh, what a wild ride. I'm really glad the word I said was yes. I'm really glad the word I said was yes. When I think of all the things I might have missed, I'm really glad the word I said was yes. I'm really glad the word I said was yes. Say that with me. I'm really glad the word I said was yes. Oh, yes.
Thank you, David. All right. Yay. Okay, let me move through a few of these. So I introduced David, but what I didn't tell you is he's won many awards for his songs and his songwriting and his performances, and he's done a number of songs that he's written together with various other people, including Karen Drucker. And so we've heard some of those songs from time to time as well. So we're glad to have him with us this morning. You don't really need to silence your cell phone now, because hopefully you already did that. And we did the meditation already. Yes. Moving on. Aha, now we're into 2022, living from the heart of wonder. And this morning I was immersed in wondering. I was wondering what the heck was going on. I went out with Amanda and all my stuff, unlocked the car, put my stuff in the car. We got in the car. Car tried to start, couldn't do it, because I hadn't driven it, in a couple of weeks. And so I got out of the car, discovered that it was so dead that I couldn't use my clicker to lock it. And so I have a Prius, so I pulled the little key out, and I locked the door, which only locked the driver's door. It didn't lock all the other doors. So I methodically went around and I locked all the other doors. And then I realized that I had just locked everything I needed for Sunday in my car. And I could not get the key to unlock the car. So we ran back in the house, printed up a bunch of stuff because I wasn't going to have my iPad and I was going to have to use my printed material. Got all that together, texted William, told him I was going to be late, ran down, got in Amanda's car, zoomed down here, and discovered that William has been researching, as he often does, and finding new ways for us to do this so that Zooming musicians can not only see but also hear, and so certain software needed to be added to the laptop, which confused me completely when I got here. And so it took me a little while to figure out, and William to help me so that I could figure out how to make things work. And so I am discombobulated. I've told you before that I like to have things work. Yes? And I like to be in control. And can anybody relate to this? Okay, so the living from the heart of wonder is the ability to look into situations like this where we're not so happy with the confusion that's going on or the having it not fall into place, and just realizing that that is life. It's not like anything terrible is happening. It's just life happening. And one of the things that I want to talk about today is the importance and necessity of change. But first, I thought I'd give you a acknowledgement of the passing of a world spiritual leader, Thich Nhat Hanh. He made his transition yesterday at age 95 at the ashram in Vietnam. He was born in Vietnam, but he had been living in France for a long time. He became a monk. He went into the monastery as a novice monk at age 16. And he has transformed the active, living application of Buddhism all over the world, meeting with world leaders and so on. So we honor the passing of this great soul. And also, from the sublime to the ridiculous, I wanted to share with you a little bit about our trip to Mexico. So here we are. We're getting ready to, hello? No, that's not showing up on the screen. To go snorkeling in Cabo, to visit a brick building place in Mazatlan, to go shopping for huichol items in Puerto Vallarta, and to go to the iguana sanctuary in Manzanillo. The iguanas, did you know that male iguanas turn yellow? Female iguanas remain green. They're all green when they're born. And the way that you can tell when they're babies, this is too much information, I realize. The way that you can tell when they're babies is you turn them over, and in between their rear legs, the males have dots. And that's how they can tell the babies are male from the female babies. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, there were really outside this sanctuary in the trees, maybe 40 iguanas. And the more you looked into the trees, the more of them you saw. It was astounding. Now, they move pretty quickly when they want to. So we watched them being fed, and that was a really interesting experience. But I also want to tell you that this week was our annual Centers for Spiritual Living Convention. So I want to share a few things with you that we learned this week. One is that we have now 371 chapters, centers, teaching groups, and focus ministries and study groups, 371 in all of these countries that are listed to the side there. So that was part of what we learned this year at convention. We also learned that this many certificated science of mind students accomplished classes this year. So if you look at the top here, you can see almost 4,000 certificates were issued. Now, some students, I'm sure, took more than one class, so that may not represent nearly 4,000 different students. Still, that many were certificated this year. Also, in practitioner services, we licensed 195 new practitioners this year. But the thing that really stood out for me in this report that I want you to notice is 61,670 emails these two women handled this year from the field, and they attended 935 meetings. That's like 3 a day. So this department, which is managed by these two women, accomplished all of that and managed to license 195 new practitioners this year, as well as, almost 800 renewals. Now, our treasurer reported that last year, in 2020, they ended the year 61,000 in the hole. This year, they're ending the year 320,000 plus to the good. However, the reason that this is to the good is because they received a PPP loan and some bequests from people who made their transitions this year. Otherwise, their program revenues would have been, they would have had a deficit of $186,000 this year. So it made a huge difference that they had the payroll protection grant and the bequests that came in this year from those who had left them information in their will. But one of the other things to be aware of is that of all the pledges that were made to Centers for Spiritual Living this year, 96% of the 2021 pledges were paid. Now, I want you to know that in churches and church organizations, that's really high. So that's really good. It's quite close to 100%. Also, I want to let you know that Science of Mind magazine, how many of you in here get Science of Mind magazine? Okay, almost everybody. Their print circulation is 52,000 a month. And their website visitors are 13,000 every single month. So our Science of Mind magazine is really getting the teachings out to a very broad group of people, and also people visiting the website to learn more about what the magazine does. Holmes Institute has extended its ministerial training now to Kenya. And so we graduated 127 students, or 127 students are currently, including Rachel, who prayed us in this morning, are in the School of Ministry. 31 new licensed ministers last year in 2021, and the first graduates outside of North America, some of whom are not English speakers at all. And they've just now begun the Kenya campus. So there will be training in the continent of Africa for Centers for Spiritual Living ministers, or as we call them, spiritual directors. So let's give a hand to Centers for Spiritual Living for everything that got accomplished in this last year. It's pretty exciting to know we're part of that organization. So now back to my talk. January is about basic principles of science of mind, the heart of the science of mind. And today I'm talking about the creative law always says yes. Now, when we think about creative law always saying yes, what that seems to mean is that when we want to bring something into our lives, we use the law of attraction to do that, which means that we seed our consciousness with what we want to experience, right? More and more of what we want to experience. But I want to talk about the process of the creative law a little bit more deeply this morning than just trying to bring about what we want in our lives. Creative intelligence, the infinite, seems to have a natural impulsion to create. How do we know that? Well, here we are. The universe exists, so creation is eternally happening. Now, this is what I mean by that. It used to be that people thought that God was like this infinite clockmaker who created the universe, set it into motion, and then got busy with other things and just left it to its own devices. But one of the things that we see in everything that's in form is that it's constantly changing. So whether it is stars or our bodies, everything is constantly changing, right? There's nothing in form that isn't changing. Even ancient buildings that were built to last forever, whether it's the pyramids or Stonehenge, experience change over time that is observable. So we recognize that in order for the infinite to be expressed, it doesn't just express and then stop, it expresses nonstop. So creation is eternally happening. We see stars that are still being born. We see Earth that is still being created, living Earth on our own planet. So we know and we recognize from our own bodies to everything that we can observe that the universe is constantly creating, which means it always needs new material. And as much as we think the same things and believe the same stuff consistently, the universe is also using us to create. So change is essential for the infinite to be expressed, to be being itself. And so we see that form changes and adapts and evolves, including us. So that means that all the changes that we experience, including not being able to get the car open, which was a new experience for me, is necessary to creative expression. So what was the invitation to me this morning? Creative law always says yes, right? So what was the invitation to me this morning in discovering that I couldn't get into my car? So I began to feel, antsy and anxious. Can anybody relate to this? This kind of feeling when something isn't working? And you're in a time crunch, right? And so I had the possibility of amping up into that, which I started to do. And I also had the possibility of going, okay, so what do we do? It's just life. What do we do? And Amanda had said, you want me to go in and print your stuff up? And I didn't want to do that, but I recognized that's what we needed to do. So we did that, and then we got in the car, and we started on the way down here, and I thought, okay, what are you going to do now? You got to drive ahead of you. One option is you can relax and breathe. Why not? So that's what I tried to practice. That was my invitation. And creative law then let me arrive here a little calmer so that I would be in a better place to discover that some other stuff wasn't working. It was another invitation. Okay, would you like to grow a little more? And you know, I don't know about the rest of you, but when I'm invited like that to grow out of discomfort, I don't much want to do it. I really don't. I would like to bitch and moan and fuss and complain, really, instead. And crab and fuss, you know. But I've gotten really good at that, and it doesn't seem to be helpful. So instead, I thought, okay, you know, back off, let go, try and breathe, right? And things are coming together. Okay, all right. So now, here's the universe becoming. So what does it mean that everything is changing and adapting in relationship then to creative law? What is that trying to tell us? Well, let me talk first of all about what happens when we stay in the old thought, the old assumption, the old paradigm. Any of you ever think you know what you're doing? Has it ever occurred to you that you know what you're doing? Well, that's not true at all. None of us really knows what we're doing. But when we think we know what we're doing, we can get ourselves into trouble, like this gal. She says, at the clothing store where I work, I make it a point of pride to give customers my unvarnished opinion. One day when a man emerged from the fitting room, I took one look at him and shook my head. No, I said, those jeans look terrible on you. I will go get you another pair. And as I walked away, I heard him mumble, I was trying on the shirt. Yeah, probably humiliating your customer wasn't exactly the best idea if you wanted a sale, right? So sometimes we think we know what we're doing and we embarrass ourselves by discovering in public that we don't. Anybody ever been there? It's very humbling to discover that you don't. Ernest Holmes, our founder of Centers for Spiritual Living, whose birthday was yesterday, by the way, he died in 1960, so he hasn't been around for quite a while, but it was Ernest Holmes' birthday yesterday. He said this in A New Design for Living, which he wrote with Reginald Armour. We're all living in a world of continual change, a world in which thought, thing, and experience are in a constant state of flux. It is the very nature of the universe that there should be continual change and variation. It is a living world. The creation of a living creative intelligence, not a static world created by a God now dead or departed who left it to decay. No, it is vital and alive. The mind that created it is not apart from it, but is always active in and through it. But behind that which changes, that which causes the change, we have found that there is something stable and changeless, something eternal, upon which all of the external events depend for their very existence. Behind the endless process of change and the infinite variety of experience and expression, there is that which does not change. That is the essence of what we are. We emerge out of the changeless, and even though we constantly experience change, there's a part of us that is anchored in that one that is eternal, that is always using the creative law. So that creative law says yes to whatever we bring into mind and consciousness, but it's whatever we bring into mind and consciousness repeatedly with feeling. So when we want to create something new in our lives, it's important that we recognize that thoughts and words and music and images bring forth in us memories and feelings and interpretations of ideas. And so everything we put our attention on is feeding into those memories and feelings and interpretations, not just what we're consciously choosing for spirit and creative law to act upon. Are you with me so far? Everything we choose to ingest is affecting what we're creating. And generally speaking, we're kind of lax about all of that, what we read, what we watch, what we listen to, what we talk about. And that laxness allows us to let it in more deeply, actually, because we're not grabbing or resisting, we're just available to it. Sometimes when we're trying to create our own consciousness, we're trying to select what we want to focus on, we're pushing or pulling or trying. And in that process, we make it less effective rather than more effective. So what we're doing day after day after day becomes the real prayer more than the prayer itself. Because creative law does not know that when we're thinking and feeling and remembering and interpreting and talking to ourselves and talking to other people and expressing our opinions, creative law doesn't know that that isn't necessarily what we want to manifest. All it knows is that that's what we're repeating and focusing on. We're repeating and focusing on certain television programs. We're repeating and focusing on certain kinds of conversations or points of view. And when we do that, we're seeding. We're seeding the subconscious for more. So when we repeat something, we make it sharper in focus and intensity. When we repeat something, we make it easier and easier to think that or remember that or recall it or dwell upon it. It becomes, like driving or riding a bicycle. We get good at that particular thought or belief or opinion or interpretation. And as we get better at it, we manifest more of it. And we can look at that and not recognize that that's actually coming out of our own practice. So when we look into the world and we see division and negativity and lots of evidence for it, or when we look at our own bodies and we see them aging, or we have discomfort, or our focus isn't what we wanted it to be, we can then make interpretations about that bug us so much we keep focusing on that. We can make meaning where there isn't any meaning. But the creative law says yes to us, which means that if we decided it had meaning, it acts as if it did. So, if I think that this discomfort that I'm feeling in my right, whatever this is, right here, that this is a serious problem, and I mess with it constantly and I talk about it a lot, I could get it to hurt forever. Whereas if I just left it alone and took my Advil, I'd probably be fine, right? I mean, can you relate to this? When you pick at something endlessly, you keep it alive, yes? Is this making sense to anybody out here? Yeah, okay. So those things then become an inner truth. They don't have to be an actual truth for us to experience them like an inner truth. So I want you to think about stuff that you really believe in that's negative, stuff that you're completely convinced of that is negative, that has to do with other people or your body, those two things. And I want to ask you to try something different with them. Because creative law is automatically going to manifest more of that. And it tends to be our habit to do that. Tony Robbins said, "How am I going to live today in order to create the tomorrow I'm committed to?" If I live today in exactly the way that I lived yesterday, tomorrow's going to look just like today. So if I'm committed to creating something better for myself, something new, something different tomorrow, then I need to actually begin to pull the weeds out of my consciousness or cultivate a little bit more so that the universe, the creative law, can say yes to what it is that I want, because it can only say yes. So it only has what I'm giving it to work on. So look at this for a moment. Here are two different expressions of true. They are both true, but they don't look anything like each other. This is how our opinions tend to function. They may both emerge out of some greater truth, but the way that we are interpreting them and seeing them is very different. They're both true enough, but they're not the whole absolute truth. Does this make sense? And so when we find fault with somebody else's truth because it's not ours, it may be because we're both right, even though our two versions of true don't match each other. Now, I'm not recommending we have an alternative set of facts. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is perhaps we can look deeper into our own opinions of what's true and consider that we may not have the full picture. What matters most in terms of which one of these truths is most true is how they affect us. And the one that's going to affect us is the one that we focus on the most and spend the most time pondering or chewing on or thinking over and having an emotional reaction to. You know, I think, and I hate to admit this, but I think that I have more of an emotional reaction to things that upset me and make me angry than I do to the things that I want to experience. I have more attachment to the stuff I'm mad about than I do to the stuff I want to create more of in my life. So which prayer is creative law going to act upon? It can only act upon what it identifies to be important to me, which is where the emotion and the repetition are. So if I really want to make a change, I have to figure out a way to wake myself up enough to begin to have regular practice times where I come back to what I want rather than what I don't want. You see, when we go into this process of awareness, of greater awareness, first we see the appearances. That's that first glass all the way over on the right that looks kind of muddy. As we begin to pray and meditate and turn our attention to the changeless truth, rather than all the changeless details and facts that are constantly moving around, we begin to shift our awareness to what's true about what's really the majority of what's in that glass. Because when all that sediment settles, it's going to fill up just a tiny little bit of the bottom of the glass of water. But even its essence in the quantum field moves right out of form altogether. Then you move into the space, the glass, that is available. That's really what the universe is like. It's available. But then when we go a step further in consciousness, we get beyond form altogether in terms of our attachment to it and our focus on it and it being the most important thing. So I'm not saying that we're not going to be focused on form. Of course we are, because we're here in it. But we can begin to develop periods in our consciousness where we let go of form, even the idea that we are form with a body, or that we are a mind with thoughts. We can let go into beingness. That is the process of growing in awareness. And so it requires that we bring to ourselves a new thought. Gee, how original. We're a new thought organization. Are we generating any new thoughts? You know, St. Paul wrote in his letter to the Romans, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Don't be attached, he says, to the way of the world, which is always focused on the appearances. Don't be attached to the way of the world. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind, giving it something else to focus on. So when you test out a new thought, use your imagination. Use your imagination to find a new thought. Well, what else might be true? What am I not seeing? What else might be true? And what if this possible truth were true? Then what would be so? You know, Ernest Holmes did that all the time. He didn't believe in reincarnation, but a lot of his practitioners did. And they would ask him about it from time to time in their meeting times after they'd done their prayer work. And he would say, you know, I don't personally believe in reincarnation, but if it were true, and then he would launch into a whole theoretical discussion with them about how it would work and what it would mean and what that might look like, because he was interested. He allowed himself the possibility of exploring an idea that he personally didn't believe in, to see what was in there. It might have changed his mind. I don't think it did, but he was willing to look at it. So could we be willing to imagine and consider what if and how might that experimental thought actually be a larger truth, a greater truth than what we imagined, what we thought about it. Andy Law said, unless you're prepared to give up something valuable, you'll never be able to truly change at all, because you'll be forever in the control of things you can't give up. Do you ever see someone who gets into relationship after relationship with somebody who's verbally abusive to them? It's not that they want to be in a verbally abusive relationship, but it's familiar, it's comfortable to some degree because they know what it is, and it probably is the description of relationship that they've always given everybody when they've talked about their relationships. So creative law says yes, and they manifest more of that same kind of relationship. It's the same person with a different face over and over again. And somebody wise once said, your current safe boundaries were once unknown frontiers. We got to where we are today because as kids, we were curious and determined. How many of you can ride a bike? How many of you had to take time to learn how to do that? See, most of you, some of you got on and you were able to do it right away, but most of us have to learn. How many of you can blow a bubble with bubble gum? Most everybody. How many of you ever spit the gum across the room trying to learn? Okay, a few of you. How many of you can whistle? How many of you can actually whistle a tune, like really a real good tune? A few of you. That takes a certain amount of practice. So all of the things that we learned how to do as kids, can you tie your own shoes? How many of you can tie your own shoes? Yeah? I mean, I know your shoes are Velcro now, so you don't have to, or slip-ons, but all of those things we're able to do because we were absolutely determined that we were going to do them. We could see other people doing them, and we were determined to grow up and be able to do those things, yes? Learning to drive a car, same thing. Especially if you learn to drive a stick shift, you know? All your hands and feet are going at the same time. Well, what makes us think then that if we want to expand into new areas of our lives, that it won't take determination and practice? What is that about being a grown-up that allows us to think we shouldn't have to do that anymore? We should have figured it all out. We should know it all. We should not need any help. We should not need any whatever, fill in the blank. One of the things that distresses me as a Centers for Spiritual Living minister is how many ministers and practitioners we have in our movement who, when they're facing a serious health crisis, don't want to tell anyone, particularly other practitioners and ministers. That breaks my heart. Because if we believe in prayer, we should get as much of it as we possibly can. But our fear is that our peers will judge us and judge our consciousness negatively because we're manifesting an illness. Does this make sense? And that is a horrible downfall of science of mind. Not the teaching itself, but the way that we experience its meaning and the way that we enter into it. I mean, I have heard of many, many more ministers and practitioners who have done that than who have done the opposite. And it breaks my heart. Now, I know that feeling because when I'm feeling down and discouraged and have difficulty, and I have sometimes reached out to other ministers, I have found that their response doesn't really meet my need in terms of let's pray about that without any judgment whatsoever. And if you have that experience even once, that's the kind of thing that will cause you to not tell other ministers or practitioners when it happens for you. That is not what we want to be doing. We want to live, all of us, as a spiritual community that goes to prayer first, that goes to our practitioner when we have a problem or a difficulty or an illness or a challenge, and that we know that we can trust our body of practitioners and our ministers to immediately know the truth without putting us down or making us feel bad, and who also will recognize our tendency to put ourselves down and make ourselves feel bad, and will treat for us to let go of that false pride that holds on to that as something we did wrong. Does this make sense what I'm saying to you? It really will make a difference, I think, in our experience as individuals and as a movement if we go to prayer first and let go of the pride and fear in the way, and if we receive a request for prayer from somebody, that we treat ourselves first to have no judgment whatsoever, but to do the prayer for their wholeness, for the manifestation of the truth that they are. Okay, I'm going to step off my high horse for a minute here now. Let's see, I think I'm not ready to go on yet. I want to share a little story with you first about truly asking for what you want and recognizing what you have asked for instead. There was a holy man who lived in a hermitage on a mountain. And when word got out about him, people came to see him during the summer months. First a few people, and then more and more, until there was a long line climbing the steep mountain path, single file, tens, hundreds, then thousands. The line moved slowly, but it moved continuously during the few hours a day that he welcomed people. In fact, those who were near the head of the line and could observe him were amazed by how many people he managed to see, even though they were admitted one at a time. When the door was opened wide, the next pilgrim in line, waiting beyond the gate, would be summoned forth by a man in a wheat-colored robe, a small, nondescript-looking person. Yes, he would say when the pilgrim reached the threshold, "I've come to see the holy man. Follow me, please." And he or she would follow the small man through the house, along the hallway with doorways open to various rooms into which the pilgrim would peek hastily. But the monk ahead was moving so quickly through the house that the pilgrim couldn't linger, but literally had to rush after him. And in no time at all, they passed through the entire first floor of the house and were at a large door similar to the one the pilgrim had entered. It was the back door. The monk opened it wide and said, "Goodbye." "But I've come to see the holy man," said the visitor plaintively. "You have seen me," he gently replied. And the next thing the pilgrim knew, he would be outside, the door solidly closed behind him. This is why the line moved so rapidly, and how the holy man got to see so many people, or so many people got to see him. Most times, the holy man would add, "If you look on everyone you meet as a holy person, you will be happy." And that, I think, is an essential message for us. When we look on every person we meet as a holy person, including ourselves, then we will be happy, regardless of the other circumstances and conditions and interpretations and meanings that we impose on ourselves and on other people. So, given the power of changing that perspective, let's stand and claim our affirmation for today. So join with me in this. I listen to myself and examine my cherished beliefs this week. I'm willing to upgrade my words, thoughts, and beliefs to welcome the highest and best into my experience. And so it is. You may be seated. Now, here's the thing. In order to do this, to welcome the highest and best into our experience, in order to examine our cherished belief and upgrades our words and our thoughts and our beliefs, in order to do that, we need to remember that that's what we intended to do. You know, I get busy in my week and I don't remember what the affirmation was for Sunday. Does that happen to you? Of course it does. So, the only way to actually do this is to do something that will interrupt your regular pattern and remind you. Put a note on your mirror, stick it on your steering wheel in your car, put it somewhere at work so that when you notice that colored sticky note, or put an alarm on your watch or on your phone so that when it goes off, you can just look at your thoughts in that moment and say, am I welcoming the highest and best into my life in this thought, in this moment? Am I inviting it? Am I welcoming it? No judgment, just notice. And then make sure that you do, in that moment, welcome a higher thought that makes you happy or gives you light. Because when we do that, even a little bit of the time, we begin to change our experience and our attitude toward our everyday life. Yesterday morning, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And from the moment I became conscious, I was complaining in my head. I was complaining about this. I was complaining about that. I was criticizing something else. And I caught it as I was standing at the sink in the kitchen going, well, okay, this can be the day. Or, maybe I could do something different. And I had to catch myself over and over and over again because I wanted to. The body and the mind wanted to go to that place. But I did manage to shift enough to have a pretty good day as a result of noticing. I forgot by the end of the day, but I was okay by then, So if we can begin to remember that that's what we wanted to do, that's what begins to make the difference. So I urge you to do something that will interrupt your pattern, where you can ask, am I welcoming the highest and best? So let's take that in this moment into prayer to anchor it, all right? So, moving within. There is one presence, one power that exists throughout everything that is. And this presence is infinitely creative, joyful, alive, immersed in beingness, everywhere, always. It is all that we're made from. It is all that we're made from. So right where I am right now, right where we are right now, all of the presence of God in its positivity, in its creativity, in its aliveness, is right where I am. We step into that, willing to let go of our old habits of limitation in thought, willing to take a hold of a new thought and allow the possibility to live in us as if it might be so. To take hold of that, to dwell on it a little more, to let it lift our spirits. We claim that today, in this moment now. We claim that transformative process. We claim that healing presence. We claim that deeper, fuller, more complete awareness of truth right now for everyone here, for all of our dear ones throughout the world and the universe. We're grateful to know this is the truth of all of us. And we let this prayer go into that creative law, which always says, yes, we let it go. We let it be. And together we say, and so it is. Yes, yes, yes. Good. All right. So this is the time of sacred giving. If you would like to text your donation, you can do that by texting the amount to this number on your screen here with your phone, your smartphone. The ushers, please stand ushers and come forward, are going to be coming to receive the offering that's being given in the room. And we're going to bless all of the offering being given this morning and all that we've received throughout the week with our giving blessing. So here is our giving affirmation. I'm going to invite you to say this with me right now. This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is. And as we begin to receive the offering, we're going to turn it back over to David Roth for his next solo.
With a little bit added up to the top based on what Reverend Mary just said. I see you as holy. I listen and I see. Upgrading words and thoughts I do. I stand for you and me. And I stand for love, I stand for peace, I stand for joy and for release, for what is beautiful and true. I stand for hope, I stand for you. I stand for love. I stand for peace. I stand for joy and for relief. For what is beautiful and true. I stand for hope. I stand for you. You know our world is filled with pain. She needs our loving care again. But there are those who fail to see what we have done and what we need. There is a cost for every act. Now there is no turning back. We burn a bridge, we bang a drum. It's time to rise. The time has come to stand for love, to stand for peace, to stand for joy and for release. For what is beautiful and true, to stand for hope, to stand for you. And if you're thinking it's not urgent, that we've got more time to kill, if I'm not the one who will change things, then for heaven's sake, who will? So I will move, I will climb this mountain one step at a time. I won't be swayed, I will not stop until we've made it to the top, where we will stand for love and peace. We'll stand for joy and for release. For what is beautiful and true, we'll stand for hope. We'll stand for you. For what is beautiful and true, I stand for hope. I stand for you.
Oh, thank you, David. All right. And so we do, all of us here together on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, accept with gratitude this offering. We send it out into the world with an intention. And our intention is that it will take blessing, it will take the highest good, it will take the welcome of good out into the world and affect where it goes and affect the people that come in contact with it for the highest good. And so it is. Yeah. All right. Okay. I want to say, if you're with us for the first time this morning, I did go long today. I don't usually go quite that long. But we have welcome packets on the back table that are available for you this morning. They say welcome right on them. And inside there's a blue card that says welcome on the top of it. If you fill it out, give it to Amanda, who's standing back there at the table. She will give you a little book that is our gift, our thank you gift for you for being here today. And we hope you'll come and be with us often in the future. We'd love to welcome you as part of our spiritual family. I also want to specifically thank David Roth for being with us this morning. I hope you can hear that, David. They're very enthusiastic, and we're glad that you were here. He has one more song that's going to be coming up in just a few minutes. That is our closing song, which he will teach us and lead us through. But let me take you through the announcements today, because Posey has one that's coming up pretty quick. First of all, I want to say thank you to the team, and I want to do a couple of quick corrections. So Lori Greer was not able to be the practitioner this morning, so Rachel DePaula stepped up and did that. And also, both of our prayer table practitioners who were scheduled to be here this morning were exposed to somebody with COVID, and so they have to stay home until they know for sure that they don't have it. So quickly, Suzanne and Judith and Pat jumped in to take their places. So they're not acknowledged, but we want to acknowledge them. Yes. I want to acknowledge all four of you who stepped up today to help, and also our practitioner, Leslie Giannetti, who did this wonderful altar for us this morning, as well as all of the rest of us who did what we did to get us here and get it all working this morning. And Rick and Jim, and I want to thank Frank, who comes in every single Sunday with Jim to set up chairs. And I just want to say that personally, I think that the Leadership Council president should not be the person setting up chairs. Not that he's not doing a good job of it, just that he deserves to be supported too. So any of you that tend to come in early, talk to Frank if you would be willing to help set up chairs and take them down after a particular service once a month. We really would appreciate that. Well, they're here, what, at 8:30? 8 o'clock, yeah. So that's pretty early. If you're an early bird and you're willing to come and set up, we'd love to have you do that. Also, let's switch over to Posey now, who has a special announcement for us about her class, which is coming up in February. Hello, Posey. Okay, that's David's. We're going to switch to Posey in just a minute here. There she is. Hey. Let's see, we're not hearing her, however.
What?
There we go. Okay, start again, Posey. Yeah.
Ah! Good morning, Golden Gate Center. So good to see you. Okay, where am I? Prosperity and happiness are an inside job. So if there's any part of you longing for greater abundance, for happiness, for purpose, money, metaphysics, and the meaning of life, ask some of those deep questions like, why the heck am I here? What brings me happiness? What am I passionate about? And what is it that my soul is yearning to express more of or experience that perhaps I haven't been able to bring forth yet? We will learn and practice tools that help us transform our relationship with abundance and with life. We will be asked to practice risks, to practice pattern interruptus, and entertain new thoughts, as Reverend Mary was talking about, in the directions of our dreams and our intentions. And there are mechanisms in place to really support us in this transformation, including 2 amazing practitioners and 2 transformative books. It will be a daytime class, Monday afternoons from 2 to 5, starting February 21st, and it's an 8-week class. And so if there's any part of you that is longing to experience more life, by signing up, we start that journey of transformation in consciousness. And you must sign up by next Sunday to be part of the class. So please join me in this adventure in consciousness. Namaste.
Yes, you can applaud. Well done. And you will find the sign-up sheet for the class is, I'm assuming it's out in the lobby area. So look for it out there so you can sign up for that class. And it will be 8 Mondays from 2 to 5. All right. Moving on. Quick Start is coming up with Marilyn Letzos, and that is going to be on Sunday, February 27th. That is a free workshop that's 2 hours. If you email administrator@ggcsl.org, you can sign up for the 2-hour either review of Science of Mind or intro to it. And finally, our eco-friendly, oh, that's fascinating. I must have clicked the wrong thing there. Okay, okay. And finally, our eco-friendly tip of the week: plant a drought-tolerant tree. And I've got 3 of them up here for you. The California buckeye, western redbud, and crepe myrtle are all drought-tolerant trees. So if you have property or some place that you can sneak in and plant one, consider that, all right? Now, I want to also move on to our prayer table over here. Our practitioners, as you know, are available for prayer following the service, and I'm going to invite the practitioners to stand and surround the room now. You can find the box here, thank you, Judith, the box for prayer requests at the practitioner table every Sunday. Please feel free to put in a prayer request. You will be joined in prayer for a week when you put in a prayer request. You can do that anytime on Sunday. And also, stop over at the prayer table and request prayer from the practitioners there. Don't carry around something because you're too proud to let people know that you could use some prayer support. Go and get it. For heaven's sakes, get as much prayer as you can. It can't hurt. So that's available. The practitioners are available. And now I'm going to invite you to stand. Oh, well, wait a minute. We're going to pray. Yeah, stand to receive the prayer. Let's do that. And we're going to enter into this prayer together. All right? Put your hand over your heart. Right here and right now, where we stand and sit, there's only one. That one created all that is. It is right where we are. This infinite mind of God is right where we are. We have access to everything we need to know. So we do open our consciousness to be aware of that which we haven't yet perceived, that supports us in having a happy, fulfilling, conscious life. We open to that and invite it. As we do so, incremental changes are beginning within us right now, and we are allowing and encouraging them. We are moving into that slight discomfort that says we're a little out of our comfort zone, and allowing ourselves to experience the curiosity, the discovery, the persistence, and the mastery of new awarenesses and new joy in our lives. We're grateful for every moment that gives us this opportunity, and we accept it deeply and fully, as much as we possibly can, with great gratitude. And we let this prayer go, knowing that the law is on the case. We let it be, and together we say, and so it is. Yes, now join me for the benediction, and then David was going to teach us the closing song. So we say this together. I now walk so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted, and whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness, for spirit and all people and I are one eternally, and so it is. And now we're going to turn it back over to David Roth for our closing song.
How wonderful to be with you again, Reverend Mary, and thanks to all for making this possible across the miles until such a time as we are in the same room together. This is a call and response song, so you don't need to know it. You just sing back to me what I sing to you.
Excellent.
If you're someone like me who is, and I heard this word referenced many times in the talk, ready for change. Again, my thanks. I'm ready for change. I'm ready to move. There's no one to blame. There's too much to do. I'm ready to go. To get back on track. It's time to move on. and there's no turning back. It's my sacred job to strike some kind of chord, to challenge and help, not dismiss or ignore. Everyone gets a chance with nothing to prove. And when I do my part, then the mountain will move. I'm ready to roll up my sleeve with passion and purpose, and we can achieve high promise of truth, and the fight for what's fair, to see that all people get their fair share. So I'm ready for change. I'm ready to go. It's long overdue, and a debt that we owe. Everyone gets a chance with nothing to prove. And when I do my part, then the mountain will move. When I do my part, then the mountain will move. I'm ready for change.